Please be seated and settle down. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Sean Clancy, your newly elected moderator, and it is my honor and pleasure to welcome all of you to Carver's annual town meeting. Please note, portable listening devices are available at request. Please simply raise your hand, and one of the gentlemen in the rear will get one for you. Also, we have portable microphones for those who are unable to approach the microphones in the aisles for debate or questions. Simply raise your hand during debate, and someone will approach you with a microphone. All registered voters who are residents of the town of Carver are asked to sit in the front seats in these front boxes up front here. If you are not a registered voter in the town of Carver, the designated section is the rear section to my left in the back over here, this entire box in the rear left section. So if you are a non-voter, please make your way up there right now. And if you are a voter, please try to fill in the seats in the front as much as possible so that it makes it easier for us to make hand counts as that occasion arises. Tonight's proceedings are being recorded on Area 58 cable television and are taking place at the Carver Middle High School Auditorium at 60 South Meadow Road in Carver, Massachusetts. Out of respect for and courtesy to our proceedings, please silence or set your cell phones to vibrate. I'll now call the meeting to order. Town Clerk Lynn Doyle has advised me that we have a quorum of at least 75 qualified voters, and I declare, therefore, that a quorum being present, this annual town meeting will be called to order at 6:36 p.m. on Monday, April 22nd, 2019. And now, all who are able, please stand as the Carver Boy Scout Troop 48 and Girl Scout Troop 8089 leads us in presenting the colors, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Then please remain standing as we observe a moment of silence for all the public servants we've lost in the past year. Thanks, guys. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, folks. Please remain seated. We're going to have a brief moment of silence for all our public servants who have passed in the last year. Thanks. You may be seated. Now, I've been notified that Selectman Mark Townsend has a couple of proclamations for us, so I'm going to give him the floor for a moment while he shares those proclamations with us.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I have the honor this evening of recognizing a couple of folks who have served the town for quite a while and are stepping down this year. State Representative Susan Gifford has been kind enough to send along a couple of citations honoring them from the State House. She wanted to be with us this evening, but it's the first night of budget negotiations and she anticipates a long night. So anyway, the first is our longtime town clerk, Lynn Doyle, who served the town for 6 years as town clerk and years before that in the town clerk's office. So many of us know her as the face of town hall. She's always there with a smile. So Lynn, congratulations. And second of all, we have a long-serving member of our Finance Committee. John Cotter was chairman of the Finance Committee for 12 years prior to stepping down. He still serves as a member of the Finance Committee, but is stepping down at the end of this term. So, John, on behalf of all our elected officials, the state representative, and all the folks in Carver, congratulations. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. I'll now go ahead and introduce the boards and committees that are sitting before you. Over here on my left-hand side, I have Superintendent of Carver Public Schools, Mr. Scott Neef. Also down here on my left-hand side, I have School Committee Chair James O'Brien. Mr. O'Brien, would you please introduce the other members of your committee?
To my left is Andrew Solovola. Stephanie Clarity to the left of Mr. Neef. Andy Cardarelli. And Brad.
Thank you. Also, over here on my left, I have Mr. Ron Clark, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen. Mr. Clark, please introduce the other members of your board.
To my left, I have Selectman Dave Robertson, Selectman Alan Dunham, Selectman Sarah Hewen, and Selectman Mark Townsend.
Thank you. And continuing on my left here, I have Town Administrator Michael Milanowski, Town Council Greg Corbo. Over here on my right, I have Town Clerk Lynn Doyle. And next to her, I have Finance Director Meg LeMay. Do we have Treasurer Tax Collector Kathy Kay? No. Oh, she's in the front. There she is. And Jack Angley, Chairman of the Capital Outlay Committee.
And you probably want my committee?
Yes, please.
Okay. Ron Clark, Scott Neef, Frank McPeck, and of course, me. We just missed Bob Merritt, retired a couple of months ago, so anyway.
Thank you, sir. And last but not least, Alain Germain, Chairman of the Finance Committee. And would you please introduce the other members of your committee?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. To my far left, Bill Duggan. On my far right, I'm sorry, your left. John Carter, our newest member, Beth Solger, and my vice chair, Kate Banzel, and I'm your host.
Thank you, sir. Excellent. So I've prepared a few words of introduction for tonight's proceedings, so bear with me for a moment here as I present those to you. Before we get to business, I'd first like to thank everyone for their support in last year's election and throughout the year. I've attended meetings and met with various individuals from town departments and members of the community, and it has been tremendously clear to me how supportive everyone has been. It's really been quite the ride, whether it be in the election itself or just the words of encouragement and support that I've received from the community. It's no doubt that we definitely have one of the greatest communities in New England, and I'm really proud to serve you guys. If you feel compelled, as I did, to get involved, there's many ways to serve, including being appointed to one of the many openings we have on town boards and committees. In fact, the Finance Committee, who we were just introduced to, who plays a major role in preparing money articles for our annual town meeting, currently has a handful of openings. And yes, you could have a say in how the town spends money. So please contact the town clerk for a list of other openings, or contact the Finance Committee chair if you'd like to be a part of that committee. With that said, I'd kindly like to ask everyone to use tonight's proceeding as an opportunity to listen intently to the various proposals brought forth by boards and committees who have spent tireless hours preparing tonight's business for your consideration. Please be respectful of the points of view our elected officials, town employees, volunteer committee members, and of course your neighbors seated next to you have. I'm convinced that everybody in this room is concerned for the town's best interest and equally deserve your respect and patience. There's no doubt that there's a lot of passion in our town. I think we've all seen that displayed in various ways, shapes, and forms. But to be honest, I've been a little bit disappointed and troubled by the personal attacks and disparaging remarks on social media on all sides of all issues. These are attitudes which only serve to divide our community. The ability to be sympathetic to points of view contrary to our own are essential to our rising to the burdens that the world increasingly thrusts on our small community. While we may sometimes think we know precisely what the motives of another individual are, we should not draw conclusions based on hearsay and limited evidence. Keep in mind, this is not a court of law. But one thing we can learn from our nation's judicial system is that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. Since I am not a judge and this is not a courtroom, we are not equipped to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Therefore, at no point should anyone attack the personal motives of someone else in the room, make disparaging remarks, or attempt to label another member of town meeting a liar or a fraud. Those who wish to do so will risk being abruptly cut off and asked to apologize and rephrase their statement or otherwise yield the floor. For example, if you believe a statement made by someone else to not be factual, the proper etiquette is to say something along the lines of, "I believe there is significant evidence that the member is mistaken." Of course, stating the supporting evidence may add to your credibility. Everyone in the room is capable of forming their own opinion based on information presented. And now that we have that out of the way, let's take a brief moment to greet each other and introduce ourselves to our neighbors seated around us. I believe there's significant evidence that the member is mistaken.
Three of them, the two people in front of us, the guy right there.
Thank you, everyone. Believe it or not, it was town council who recommended that, so attorneys are not so bad after all. So on the way in, you guys had an opportunity to pick up some paperwork, which probably seemed like a small novel. What you should have received is the annual town meeting warrant. The warrant contains all the articles and the business that we'll be going over tonight. There's also an appendix at the back of the warrant, which will give you more detail on the various articles within the warrant. And I have included myself just one sheet of paper. I didn't kill very many trees. That just goes over a glossary of terms that are common to town meetings, especially our town meetings. You also would have had an opportunity to pick up the 2018 Town of Carver annual report, so you should have that in your possession as well. I'm now going to go over a basic explanation of how our warrant articles are laid out on the warrant. So Mr. Milanowski, if you wouldn't mind throwing up my slides there. Excellent. So the warrant lists each article that we'll be voting on tonight. Underneath the name of each article is a description of what is being voted on, followed by an informational summary explaining the article and perhaps some motivations behind it. And these are being highlighted behind me as I speak here. After the informational summary is a proposed motion. The motion will also be presented on the screen as we talk about each article. We'll also be posting as much of the article as we can on the screen as well too. Obviously some of these articles are fairly long, so we might not be able to fit them all on the screen. But regardless, the proposed motion will be up there in its entirety. Please note that before any business can be discussed, a motion must be made and seconded. So the proposed motion is there to help you get the ball rolling. Following the proposed motion is an indication of the vote count required for a motion to pass. Lastly, a listing is provided showing how the Board of Selectmen and any committee sponsoring the article voted in recommendation of the article. I will now briefly discuss some rules, because we all like rules. I'll introduce each article by reading its caption and ask for a motion and second before providing an opportunity for the sponsor or sponsors of the article to provide a brief presentation of the article. If you're presenting or you feel you may be answering questions on an article, I kindly ask you that you sit please near the front. Only motions and amendments which are directly relative to the article at hand will be in order. Any motion or amendment which is fundamentally different from the open article may be deemed out of the order at the moderator's discretion. As many of you know, we're required by town bylaw to publish the warrant 7 days prior to town meeting for the purpose of allowing residents to decide whether they have an interest in debating and voting on the business laid forth. Limiting debate and actions to the business on the warrant is meant to protect the rights of those who may have chosen not to be here tonight based on the contents of the warrant. Once a motion has been made and seconded, and only after a motion has been made and seconded, we may begin presentations and then debate. Any voter is welcome to speak in debate. Simply approach one of the microphones in the aisles. There's one over here, one right in front here, and one over there. Wait to be recognized by the moderator, state your name and address, and then make your statement. I will attempt to recognize people in the order they have approached the microphone. Each speaker will be afforded 3 minutes per microphone appearance and 2 opportunities to speak on each motion. I will not recognize someone for a second opportunity to speak in debate until everyone that wishes to speak a first time has had an opportunity to do so. Legitimate questions, which are not statements posed as questions, will be considered exceptions. The gizmo you see sitting right in front of me here is a timer, which I'll start when each speaker begins to speak. It will start with a green light, change to a yellow light when you have 30 seconds left, and a red light when time has run out. All debate is to be conducted through the moderator. You should not speak directly to or with other members of town meeting. Those town officials and committee members who are seated in front of you will observe the same rules as those seated in the audience when speaking in debate, including using the microphones in the aisle if they are able. Those seated at the table should also refrain from speaking or answering questions unless recognized. In the interest of time, when speaking in debate, please be sure to state points of view and information not previously provided or questions not previously asked. We understand that you may want to show support for a particular article or particular motion, but if you're not making a profoundly different statement than what someone else has made, we kindly ask that you refrain. When the motion is put to vote, that will be your opportunity to show your support for or against the motion, and please refrain from applauding or booing at all times. Not that anybody would boo. If at any time you feel that I have made a procedural error, the proper course of action is to rise to a point of order. Simply rise and state point of order. You should try not to interrupt someone while they are speaking in debate unless allowing them to continue would, in your estimation, cause the furthering of procedural error. Otherwise, respectfully wait for them to finish before making your point of order. I will then recognize you, allow you to state your point of order, and then rule on it. After debate has been exhausted, I'll put the question to a vote. Alternatively, any member of town meeting may make a motion to move the previous question, which after being seconded and approved by a 2/3 vote, will end debate and put the question to vote. Please note, however, I will not recognize a motion of this nature unless debate has become repetitive and no new information is being presented. Articles will be taken up in the order they are listed in the warrant unless a motion to advance an article or postpone an article has been made, seconded, and approved by a 2/3 vote. During the course of proceedings, we will have a few individuals who are not Carver residents who are required to make a presentation on several articles, including town employees who have the legal right by statute to speak at town meeting, and consultants hired by the town to help us with projects. Unless I hear any objections, I will let these individuals speak. Seeing no objections, we will let these people speak. It has become our custom in the past, as has become our custom in the past, if there are no objections, I'll waive the reading of the warrant. Seeing no objections, I want to inform everybody that at least a portion of each article, again, will be placed on the screen behind me. Shorter ones may be displayed in their entirety, and each motion will be displayed on the screen. Additionally, presentations will still be given by the sponsor or sponsors of each article to add clarity to what is being discussed in each warrant article. All right, so now we're going to get down to business. Our first article tonight concerns setting rules for town meeting and entering them into the town's bylaws. So with regards to Article 1, I'd like to address town meeting as a resident and citizen of town. Accordingly, I'd like to appoint Ron Clark, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, to preside as Deputy Moderator for Article 1. Let me just get my stuff together here.
All right, Article 1. Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Acting Moderator, I move the town vote to amend the general bylaws of the town relative to town meeting procedures and powers of the moderator as set forth in Article 1.
Alan, you have to read the screen, because that's changed.
Oh, thank you.
You can just move the screen.
Mr. Moderator, I move Article 1 as written on the screen.
Second.
All right, our speaker is Mr. Clancy, so I will ask Mr. Clancy to address town meeting.
I'll take care of the curtain.
It's up to you, sir. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Clark. So I just want to go into a little bit of sort of an explanation of what we're trying to accomplish here with Article 1. And I'll go through and read through it. I know that we just waived the reading of the warrant, but I feel like in this particular instance it makes sense for us to kind of read through each of these items here, because what we're voting on here is to add them to the bylaws and then also make them the rules for this particular session. So I want to make sure that everybody's clear on those rules should they be voted in. So in Article 1, basically we're accounting for situations which are common to our town meetings where we have an opportunity to provide clarity and transparency to the procedure we follow. Some of the rules are merely a restatement of Massachusetts general laws or Robert's rules or town meeting time. However, in many cases, statute, Robert's rules, and town meeting time give us several options to consider. So we'd like to make it clear which direction we're going in and start to develop some consistency from year to year. So putting these into the bylaws really helps us ensure that consistency. It gives our voters a way of knowing how things will proceed well in advance, in a way of holding the moderator accountable for following certain procedures, while still leaving those things which are not dictated by statute or bylaws up to his or her discretion. It's important to highlight that the purpose of this exercise is not to codify everything that the moderator may or may not do at town meeting. In Massachusetts, the moderator is required by statute to preside as well as regulate town meeting. So it's clear that the state legislature intends for the moderator to be in a position of authority. We don't want to handcuff the moderator to the extent that they are no longer capable of presiding over the meeting. So with that said, Article 1, as stated, is to see if the town will vote to amend Chapter 1 of the town's general bylaws relative to town meeting procedures and Chapter 2 of the town's general bylaws relative to the powers of the moderator as follows, or take any other action relative thereto. So starting with Part A, we'd add the following new sections to Section 1.1. So firstly, 1.1.8, to be debatable, any motion must be seconded, and any main motion or motion to amend must be in writing and given to the moderator before the maker may speak on the subject of the motion. The maker of the motion will be recognized to begin debate when recognized by the moderator. And it continues on here to say, unless the moderator determines that some other person should be recognized first. And we're actually going to strike that, or we're going to recommend striking that. And so that edit is actually shown on the screen up here. And the motion for this article includes the language as written on the screen instead of using the language in the handout that says as printed in the warrant. So basically, this is a restatement of guidance given by town meeting time and Robert's Rules of Order, and it's one of those ones that's just there to sort of add clarity to folks who don't carry around a copy of town meeting time and Robert's Rules of Order, as I like to do. And so there's nothing profoundly different here, really, than what we've been advised by those texts. 1.1.9, for warrant articles involving the expenditure of money, including transfers from available funds and borrowing. If a specific sum is stated in the warrant with the words not to exceed, no motion that exceeds the amount stated in the warrant shall be in order. If a specific amount is stated in the warrant but does not contain the words "not to exceed," an amendment will be in order if it is ruled as being within the scope of the article by the moderator and is approved by a 2/3 vote. So this language, "not to exceed," is something that is not new to our warrants. It's been showing up for a few years now at least. And my feeling was that we had to have some language in the warrant, or in our rules, in our bylaws, to handle the language in the warrant. In my conversations with the selectman and town administrator, it was clear to me that the language "not to exceed" meant that they did not want town meeting to vote to exceed those figures. And so 1.1.9 seeks to clarify what we're going to do when we come across that language so there's no confusion. 1.1.10, unless physically unable to do so, any person wishing to address the meeting should rise and get in line with others behind a designated microphone. Those physically unable to approach a microphone should raise their hand to signify to the moderator that they wish to speak, and a portable microphone will be brought to the voter where they are sitting. Members will be called upon in the order they rise. If the moderator is unable to determine the order, she or he will use their discretion. And again, this is sort of a restatement of guidance that we get from Robert's Rules of Orders and town meeting times. Again, just to add clarity to the proceedings. 1.1.11, all speakers shall address their remarks through the moderator and may only address others through the moderator. No person shall speak more than twice in debate on any question, and no person shall speak more than 3 minutes at any one time without leave of the moderator or unless they have obtained the consent of town meeting, which can be granted with a motion to extend the limits of debate, which requires a 2/3 vote without debate. No person shall speak a second time on an issue unless everyone who wishes to speak has been given an opportunity to do so once. Rights in regard to debate are not transferable. A board or committee chair member or representative or other town officials are not considered to be in debate when giving a report or presentation authorized by the moderator or answering questions directed through the moderator. However, such individuals are bound by the rules of debate when speaking further on the question. Notwithstanding the provisions of this paragraph, the moderator may recognize any voter who has a question concerning the matter pending before the meeting or town meeting procedures. So the majority of this is a restatement, again, of recommendations from town meeting time and Robert's Rules of Order. The one instance within this item where we're sort of making a decision is on the 3 minutes of speaking time. In this case, we felt that that was adequate in most cases. In reviewing past town meetings, I was hard-pressed to find speakers who actually exceeded 3 minutes, and we felt that most people could state their case in that time. The guidance from town meeting time and Robert's Rules of Order is that an assembly could place that limit on itself and should fairly consider that limit. And if not, then default to another number. But that's where we've sort of landed for tonight. 1.1.12, the moderator may announce a vote as it appears by the sound of voices, including votes requiring a 2/3 majority. If the moderator is in doubt, or if the declared vote is immediately questioned by at least 7 voters, the moderator shall order a hand count. And so this is derivative of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 39, Section 15. While Massachusetts General Laws 39, Section 15 don't explicitly state that all 2/3 votes should be called by a voice vote, it does say that we can set a bylaw to dictate that. And so that's what we're doing in this case. We'd just like to put this in place in order to help us move town meeting along a little bit further. I can tell you in practice, the way that I'm going to handle this is that if it's obvious, so if it's unanimous, for instance, that's obvious. If it's not unanimous and there's maybe 5 people on the other side, that's still pretty obvious to me. When it kind of gets beyond a handful on the other side, I can't call it. So we're going to go to a hand count. So this is just, again, to help us move things along and not have to do a hand count on every 2/3 vote. Okay. 1.1.13, the vote on any motion may be taken by secret ballot if moved, seconded, and approved by the majority of the voters present. And now you notice that that's a little bit different from what's printed in your packet as well too. We have updated the language on the screen. And again, by making the motion such that it's as printed on the screen, we should be able to include that language there. And that language is just added to add some more clarity to it because, of course, requested by the majority of voters present, but anytime the majority requests something, we have to make it moved, seconded, and approved. And this is pretty much verbatim town meeting time recommendation here. To fix the method of voting always requires a motion to make, second, and is a majority vote. So we're just, again, adding clarity so that people know what we're going to be doing from year to year. And we have some changes on 1.1.14 as well. So on the screen, you'll notice that everything after the first sentence is struck. So I'm just going to read the first sentence. Any voter may move to reconsider the vote on any warrant article prior to adjournment of the meeting, but reconsideration can only be moved once and must be approved by a 2/3 vote. And the idea here is to obviously allow for reconsideration. We want to make it possible for folks to bring an article up again, to reconsider it. And we struck the part about requiring new information because we know that it's been common practice in the past to only allow one reconsideration, so that if a majority of folks who are voting in favor or against an article leave the room, it's not possible to have that article sort of reversed for no reason. So we still have that in place. It's not profoundly different from what's been followed in the past. We're just putting it in writing. Moving on to Part B. What we're proposing here is to delete section 2.1.2 and replace it with a new section here. Section 2.1.2 previously stated, and I'll read to you, this was not included in the warrant, but just for everyone's edification here. The powers and duties of the moderator not especially provided by bylaw shall be determined by rules of practice as contained in Robert's Rules of Order, as far as they are adapted to the conditions and powers of the town. So the new section 2.1.2 would read, the moderator shall have the powers and duties provided by these bylaws and the Massachusetts general laws, including the authority to preside and regulate the proceedings of all town meetings, decide all questions of order, and make public declaration of all votes as set forth in MGL Chapter 39, Section 15, and Section 1.1.12 of this bylaw. Every ruling involving a question of order will be entered into the records of the town meeting by the town clerk. In regulating town meetings, the moderator may be guided by the entire body of scholarship encompassing parliamentary procedure, but with particular emphasis on town meeting time, a handbook of parliamentary law, as may be amended from time to time, and the most current edition of Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised in his or her discretion. So obviously here we're adding a little bit of meat to this particular item, and most of this is just sort of a restatement of conditions within Massachusetts General Laws 39, Section 15, and adding further clarity that we're not just following Robert's Rules of Order, which is the way it was stated before. The moderator, and this is not unusual, this happens in many towns and other parliamentary or legislative bodies. The moderator is going to use a lot of different tools at his or her disposal in order to guide the meeting, preside over the meeting, and regulate the meeting. So we don't really want to handcuff our moderator to say that, hey, if you go to a meeting of the Mass Moderators Association, or you're talking with some colleagues that are also moderators or former moderators, and they share some guidance with you on how to handle a particular issue, that those learnings would not be usable in town meeting. And so, as some of you are probably already familiar, town meeting time is sort of a discussion on Robert's Rules of Order as it pertains to Massachusetts and other New England states as well too, but primarily Massachusetts, and has a lot of commentary on case law and things like that. But it's really a guidebook. It's not a statute. It's not a law. but it's a guidebook that will help us run our proceedings in a transparent and efficient manner. And Robert's Rules of Order is sort of the de facto standard for moderators all over the country and even the world to sort of dictate some ideas and philosophies with how to manage town meeting. And then, of course, we have general laws, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 39 specifically, which speaks to town meeting and the moderator's powers, and those are something that we follow as well, too, which was not previously stated in the bylaws. So that concludes my presentation on Article 1.
So when you're ready to start, just hit start. Okay. And then when you want to reset it, just hold down.
Okay. All right, we've now reached discussion. Those that want to discuss this article, please approach the microphones and identify yourselves. We'll start over here.
James O'Brien.
Oh,
Switch on.
James O'Brien, 4 Great Meadow Drive. I'd like to list my concerns with 1.1.9. I have concerns as a resident. We had issues with the wording from a planning board proposal for solar last year because of the wording. And with this wording, basically what it seems to me you're doing is taking the voice away from town meeting and saying whatever number you come up with is the number that we have to stick with no matter what. And I also think as a school committee member, what you're basically doing is absolving the most basic job that we have, which is to work with the superintendent. If you're just to come up with a number and give it to the superintendent, then really I don't see the strong need for this committee, because I think the point that we have an art teacher this year full-time and the things that these two committees have worked together to come through should be continued and should keep working that way. But when you use those words not to exceed, you limit the voice of the people to be able to meet the need that's there.
yes, sir.
Robert, this one not running either. There we go. Robert Belvin, 26 Gate Street. I have a lot of issues with this because it puts it as a bylaw here about governing us. And I also agree with the prior one about the not to exceeds, puts handcuffs on us to do our job here. It also on it is the no speaker shall speak more than twice on a debate. As things go on through this whole process, other issues may come up that you may think about. And if you only get 2 shots at the apple, then see you later, you're done, 3 minutes, that's it. Okay? And I know you guys don't like hearing me talk. I totally agree. All right? But you know what? This is our process, and we have to protect it. And this isn't protecting us. All right? It really is not. It's really handcuffing us, and that shouldn't be in a bylaw. We have a moderator, and we let him use his discretion, and that's what we want him to do. We don't need this article right now. On Article 5, I will be going ahead and presenting something else as an alternative committee made up by this body. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Jennifer Dowding, 39 William Street. I have a problem with this warrant in my hand isn't accurate to, we are voting what's on the screen only. Not everybody's going to be able to read that screen, even though, thank you for opening the curtain for me, I appreciate that. But we have to read every single slide very carefully because it's as stated on the slides, not as stated in the warrant. I don't agree with that.
All right.
And I also agree with the school committee member.
Thank you. I believe in most cases it's going to match. Yes, ma'am. No.
Hi, I'm Susan Drew from 3 Don Way in Carver. And what I wanted to bring up, my concern is 1-1-14, and it refers to no new information can come, but what if new information does come? It doesn't say that, the concern is that many voters might leave the building, and then at 11 o'clock tonight, somebody brings it back. I just want to clarify. Somebody brings it back up, and if many people have left, 2/3 of the people that are left might, they might all have one opinion. So I just want to clarify that people will assume that once they voted on something and they've come for that purpose and they leave, that that's going to be protected. So how do you address that?
I'll have the moderator address that.
Okay, thank you.
So if I'm correct, your concern is, you said reconsideration only being permitted if there's new information? Is that correct? Yeah, so we're recommending that we strike that part of that particular item. So, so the recommendation is that the motion not include that. Yeah, if it happens later in the evening for reconsideration, obviously it would still be permitted. But the voters in the room would be well within their authority to reconsider that as soon as right after the article was voted on.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Sarah Hewins, 52 Forest Street. I have 3 concerns. My first concern is I concur with Ms. Dowding. Mr. Chair, I concur with Ms. Dowding, as I did on the Board of Selectmen when lots of information was included in the informational summary, but it wasn't printed in the article. The town meeting voters here tonight know that what they're voting on is the article. And so if what's up on the screen differs from what's in the article, I don't see how we can actually be voting on the article. So that's my first concern. My second concern goes to one of the previous speakers, in that traditionally in the town of Carver, people have been allowed to speak more than 2 times. Things happen, people say things, new stuff comes up, and if you've been in a line with 20 people in front of you and there are 20 people behind you and don't get a chance to bring up those concerns, I have a problem with that. I think it's up to the town moderator to keep something from jumping up 25 times. That's a different issue. Last point. It's my understanding that when you pass a bylaw at town meeting, it does not take effect until after the Attorney General approves that bylaw. So this bylaw, if it does pass at this town meeting, could not govern this town meeting because it has not yet been approved by the Attorney General.
Okay. Was there something else?
Not at this time.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Town council wants to respond to some of those questions.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Moderator. Just to respond to a couple of procedural points that have been made. With respect to what's being voted on, you have a warrant article in front of you, and as many of you are aware, but some may not be, the warrant is there to provide you with notice of the subjects that will be voted on, but the actual motion does not necessarily have to track the words of the warrant exactly. So in this particular case, there were a few minor adjustments to the proposed bylaw after the warrant was published. And those changes are shown on the screen, and we can certainly go through those before you vote so that it's clear that everybody understands what they're voting on. But for the vast majority of the cases here tonight, what gets shown on the screen will be the same as what's in your warrant book. As to the issue of the procedures, it's correct that a bylaw does not take effect until approved by the Attorney General and published by the town clerk. However, the motion that was made here tonight is to ask you to also approve those rules as the rules for this particular meeting. So you're doing two things here. You're voting to put this in, if you so choose, as a bylaw of the town to govern all future meetings, but you're also saying that we want these to be the rules for the meeting here tonight. So it is a two-part motion. So the rules will govern tonight and in the future if approved by the Attorney General. If the motion were to fail in its entirety, then the rules are up to the discretion of the moderator.
Again,
Menu, so get it back to timer mode.
sorry, not a technology. Yes, sir.
Cornelius Shea, 148 Plymouth Street in Carver. I have a quick question for Mr. Clancy. Traditionally, in regards to Section 113, the vote on any motion may be taken by secret ballot. Traditionally in the town of Carver, can you quantify what the traditional percentage was or currently is until this is voted on?
So are you asking how like what percentage of the time votes go to a secret ballot?
No, I'm asking if a motion is made to go to secret ballot, what percentage of town meeting members is required to move that motion?
Is it different from what you're proposing?
No. No. Yeah, well, as far as I know, it's not different from what I'm proposing. The guidance in town meeting time, Robert's Rules of Order, is that a motion to fix the method of voting would require a majority vote.
And that's traditionally how it's been done in the town of Carver. I thought it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 20% yes vote in that particular
A 20% yes vote. I'm not sure. I couldn't speak to that specifically. There's currently no bylaw, so that would have been something that would have been left to the discretion of the moderator.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try this.
Steve Pratt, 16 Weston Street. Mr. Moderator, to you, through you to Mr. Clancy. Several questions. The first question is, what percentage of the town meeting members need to vote on this bylaw change? Is it a simple majority or is it something other?
Simple majority.
Thank you. Second question is, relative to 1.111, does a speaker who is asked a question from another member of town meeting or a board member ask the question, if they are to then answer it, does that count as a second speaking on that? Thirdly, and more importantly, could you explain what the phrase "without leave of the moderator" is your meaning? Does that mean that you have the right to extend debate, or do you need to speak in between speakers? Could you explain that in more detail, please? Thank you.
Could you repeat the first question? Sorry. Yeah, no, it won't count against you.
Just check it, just check it. The first question is, if you're asked a question from a member of the town meeting or a member of the board, if you are then requested to answer that from the moderator, does that count as your second speak on that particular article?
I can tell you the way that I intend to handle that is that I will ask the individual who's been asked the question if they would like to answer the question, and if they would like to answer that question, then it would come out of that individual's speaking time. So it would be up to them as to whether or not they'd want to get up and answer that question, or they could alternatively be seated until all questions have been answered, or asked rather, and then stand and answer all the questions at once, and then make any final remarks.
Did you, excuse me, Mr. Moderator, Mr. Clancy, could you answer the second
Yeah, the other question was with regard to without leave of moderator, correct? So basically that just means without permission of the moderator.
So you would be allowed to modify the time limit as well as the number of
speaks on a particular article?
Yeah, I could modify that with my discretion, or town meeting could also make a motion to extend the limits of debate.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Sir, did you want to say something? Could we get a microphone back to that gentleman, please?
What I'd like to do...
Well, could you give us your name and address, please?
Kevin Sullivan, 138 High Street. What I'd like to do is ask the people who are speaking to swallow the mic so that the rest of us can hear what you're saying. I've missed what 3 people have said, and I'm wearing my ear trumpets. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any sound, are there any hearing devices here? There are some ADA devices, I'm not sure who has them, that can help with hearing. If someone could raise their hand if they're looking for it. Okay, we will start. Mr. Belvin, is this your second time? No, you're up, Mr. Belvin.
No, she was first.
Jesus.
Hello.
No, I'm swearing at the device.
That makes me feel better.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
My name is Peg Hayes. I live at 144 South Main Street. I just need some clarification. If I understand what you just said, we can vote tonight to change the laws, to change the order that we're doing things here, and that even though it doesn't go to the legislature yet, it goes into effect tonight, here at this meeting? I'm very confused by that. Could you please clarify that?
I can give this a shot. I believe that if this is approved tonight, then it has to go to the legislature for final approval to be included in our bylaws. However, the moderator has broad discretion, so he could employ some of these rules tonight if he so chose.
Mr. Moderator, are you going to do that tonight?
Yeah. So my intent is to follow the majority of these rules this evening. I prefer to us sort of have these written as bylaws so that there's sort of no sort of quandary in terms of what we're going to follow going forward in future meetings. Also, with regard to putting these in place tonight, the motion actually is what's sort of covering that. So the motion has 2 parts to it. One is to make these part of the bylaws, and then the other part is to use these rules for this evening's procedures.
Where is that in the warrant article in front of us tonight? That was not part of my understanding when I read this.
It's in the motion, yeah.
It's in the motion that it could pass and be used tonight. It doesn't have to go to legislature.
In order for it to be in the bylaws, it has to go to the legislature. You are correct.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that. But if it has to go to the legislature to become part of the bylaw, how can we arbitrarily put it through tonight?
We're not putting it into the bylaws tonight.
No, not the bylaws.
Yeah.
This meeting tonight.
Yeah, well, it does not have to go to legislature in order for us to use it for tonight.
So he can do it.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Mr. Corbo?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Moderator. So the idea behind putting this bylaw in effect is so that for all meetings going forward, people have some ability to predict what the rules are going to be. But if there are no rules set forth in the bylaw, the moderator and the voters at the meeting have the authority to set the rules for that particular meeting on a case-by-case basis. So if we didn't have a bylaw, the moderator could ask you to approve these as the rules for each meeting as we go forward. A bylaw is not required for you to establish rules of procedure or for the moderator to establish rules of procedure. So that's why you didn't see that in the warrant article. So the warrant article is to say, we want these rules to apply for all meetings, but the motion is to say, and we also want to use them for tonight. So you're voting on that, and if you vote it down, then you're voting not to use the rules to amend the bylaws or to use the rules tonight, in which case it then becomes the discretion of the moderator to determine what rules he's going to apply using town meeting time as a guideline.
Yes, ma'am.
Jen Bogart, 116 Cranberry Road. I would like to make a motion to amend the article. Do I bring this up to you now?
No, I think it goes here. Can you tell us what the motion says?
Excuse my shaking voice. There are a lot more of you here tonight than there are at my planning board meetings. I'm used to like one of you in the audience. But since my time on the planning board, I have really come to understand the importance of being able to ask questions, ask follow-up questions, and bring in new information. So like others have said tonight, I'm really concerned with only being able to speak twice. We all know there's someone in the room we're thinking of with speaking twice. No offense, I have come to respect you greatly this year.
All right, ma'am, I'm told by counsel you need to make the motion and ask for a second.
Okay, so my motion is to replace the words "rights in regard to debate are not transferable" to "a member who has been recognized can yield to another during debate but continues to hold the floor. The time used by the member yielded to is taken from time allocated to the member holding the floor." This is what they do in Congress. I think we should do it here.
Do we take that up individually now?
So did that motion receive a second?
Yeah, before it was made.
All right, so we have a motion and a second, so now we're going to deal with the amendment only.
All right, so we're voting now on just the amendment only at this point. Did anybody want, it's a majority vote, did anybody else want to speak to the amendment? And could you just repeat exactly what your amendment is requesting?
Sure, yeah, this is what Lynn has. We should replace the words "rights in regard to debate are not transferable" to "a member who has been recognized can yield to another during debate but continues to hold the floor. The time used by the member yielded to is taken from the time allocated to the member holding the floor."
All right, there's been a motion made and seconded. It's a majority vote.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes?
I have a question through you. What section is this referring to?
What section was that from?
Yep, 1.1.11.
Thank you.
1.1.11. Motion made and seconded. All those in favor of amending this article by the motion that is in play, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Sounds like the motion passes.
Does to me, too.
I think so.
First time people. Thank you.
Can you be more definitive? It sounds like the motion.
All right, let's go to a card vote.
No, you just had just an
No, I'm going to a card vote. Raise your hands. For those in favor of the article, please raise your hands.
The amendment.
In favor of the amendment, sorry. In favor of the amendment, please raise your hands. All right, never mind. We're just going to go with it then.
It passed, Ron.
All right, it passes.
That's all I wanted to get.
All right.
All right. So now,
Hold on, I got you on red here, Mr. Belvin. Hold on.
You have a red light.
there we go.
All right.
Now, continued debate on the original article.
Correct.
As amended.
On number 12, it says if the moderator may announce a vote as it appears a sound vote, including 2/3 vote. This is a perfect example of, should we allow the moderator, not to say you, but any moderator in the future to turn around and say, oh, nope, I agree with this one. And if it's in his side that he likes it or not, he makes that determination. This is wrong, okay? The hard vote is very important, as you just saw. I say vote this down, please. There is another option that we can use.
To the Tony's question.
And that was your second time, Mr. Belvin. This is your second time, Mr. O'Brien.
Sure is. James O'Brien, 4 Great Meadow Drive. I'd like to make a motion to remove 1.1.9.
Okay.
All other comments deal with our right to speak here at this, and this is a financial one that's sort of thrown in the middle where it doesn't belong. So I would suggest removing this from these bylaws and moving forward the way you choose.
So you're suggesting 1.1.9 be removed from the bylaws? And that has to do with advertising, using the words "not to exceed" in a motion, and allowing town meeting to exceed the stated amount. Is there a second?
Yeah, it does. Hold on.
What's that?
Statement's not correct. Just made it.
Point of information.
Okay.
So, as I'm to understand, if we remove section 1.1.9, it does not necessarily allow town meeting to exceed the amount on the article. 1.1.9 only serves to tell us how, or to sort of guide us in how we're going to proceed when we see that language on the article, and codify that and make it consistent from year to year. Again, that's really sort of the point with all of these rules. So with that said, when we get to that language on the article, it's going to still be the moderator's discretion as to whether or not a motion that exceeds the amount indicated would be within the scope of the article.
Yes, ma'am, second time.
Jen Dowding, 39 William Street.
Oh, okay, amendment. Never mind, not second time.
No, it is. Oh, did I have, so I don't have to say it? See it? I don't know everything.
No, go ahead.
It is my second time.
But it's on the amendment, right?
Oh, it is on the amendment.
Okay.
Oh, all right. I want to question whether or not the amendment to take away the 1.1.9 would take away the, as stated on the slide, in all of the one, or if not.
I believe no, would not replace what's stated.
So that would still rule, the whole article as we're voting it
Yes.
would still have the as stated on the slide, not as stated
Unless
in
it's
the
been
warrant?
changed by an amendment, yes.
Okay. Can I amend without giving it in writing?
You need, an amendment needs to be in writing.
Okay.
Hi, Emily Pangioni, 9 Center Street. I just want to also state that if we are just putting this in now, I don't think we should be already saying like second limit and stuff like that because we haven't voted on it yet. And I also feel that as a town, we should be able to speak, like others said, without having to worry about time limits. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Cornelia Shea, 148 Plymouth Street in Carver. I'd like to make a motion to amend Article 1113 to change from majority. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. So right now, we are only debating and talking about the motion to amend to remove section 1.1.9. So let's have debate on that first and a vote, and then the rest of the article will be reopened for discussion.
All right. No one else approaching the microphones. The amendment before us would remove section 1.1.9 from the bylaws before you. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. Cards, please. Those in favor, please raise your hand, raise your green card. Counters, come forward. Pardon? Keep your cards in the air until we ask you to put them down. Oh, someone's up there counting. Did you tell me you got the law?
Did you ask me to talk about something like this? Section. That's okay.
All right, please put your hands down. Those... Was that in favor? Yeah, those opposed to the amendment?
I might be late.
This doesn't need to. Nope. Just simple. All right, the motion to amend passes. So 1.1.9 is stricken from the article by a count of 187 to 102. Okay.
1.9 is out.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I would like, Cornelia Shea, 148 Plymouth Street in Carver, I would like to make a motion to amend section 1113 to change from majority to 1/3 or 30% of town meeting votes. I feel that this will empower the town meeting vote and get a more truer and accurate representation.
Is there a second? Thank you. Discussion? Being none, all those in favor of the amendment that would change it from a majority to 30%? Sorry, yes.
Yeah, what is the actual motion?
What is the motion? How's the motion? 30% or 1/3? 1/3. So the motion is that instead of taking a majority, it would take 1/3 of the voters present to call for a secret ballot. The motion says 1/3. All right, well, you can speak from there.
No,
okay.
Rules from there, so it's whether, well, it's an amendment. So
Okay. The moderator is coming out here to speak to the, because he's going to speak as a citizen.
So speaking in debate to this amendment.
The microphone, please.
Can everybody hear me?
Well, no, when you get
All right. So speaking to the amendment, you know, this would be very unprecedented to move this to a 1/3 vote. The guidance from town meeting time and from Robert's Rules of Order specifically states that this would be a majority vote. And I think that that's best in a lot of cases of changing procedures at town meeting, because you want to make sure that the majority of the people in the room are for that. Otherwise, we could be needlessly delaying the meeting due to you know, a minority you know, continually delaying the meeting.
Further discussion?
Yes, Cornelia Shea, 148 Plymouth Street in Carver. Unfortunately, what it is at town meeting is we have a very small percentage of our voters, and we want to be able to include everybody in this. Certain subjects of late have led a lot of people to speak out against how they're comfortable voting in public, and I feel that to get a true representation of the votes in this town and to get a true feel and truly empower town meeting, that it should be a 33% or 1/3 vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Gesualdo, and I reside at 204 Main Street. I'm here to speak about our form of government. We are an open town meeting. That is the
Excuse me, ma'am, that's not in order for the amendment.
It is. I'm going
Are you speaking to the 1/3?
Yes, I am. Is that in order to the amendment?
If you speak.
I am going to. And so, because this is our form of government, I believe that the majority is necessary, because then we are no longer an open town meeting. So I think a majority is the open and honest way to approach this if we should want to go. And I believe that going to 1/3 is a very, very dangerous precedent that we do not want to set. Thank you.
Seeing no one else approaching the microphones, we'll now vote on the amendment. The amendment is to change the wording that the vote on it, for 1.1.13, the vote on any motion may be taken by secret ballot if moved, seconded, and approved by the majority of the voters present. The amendment is changing the majority to be 1/3. Those in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. I'm going to go with no. Now we'll return to debate on the amended bylaw. Did anyone else want to approach the microphones?
Really?
Matthew Keniston, 9 Center Street in Carver. I wanted to make a motion that we amend Article Article 1, Section 1.1.11, and eliminate all words after the first sentence, so that Section 1.1.1 simply states, all speakers shall address the remarks through the moderator and may only address others through the moderator, because I genuinely feel that people should have the opportunity to get up and speak multiple times if new information presents itself, and it should not be left up to the moderator to have that discretion.
Do you have that in a written motion?
Okay.
All right, so the motion is to strike everything after the first sentence in 1.1.11. Did anyone else want to speak to the amendment?
Is there a second on that? What? Second.
Yeah, there was a second. No further discussion? Those in favor of removing all the wording after the first sentence in 1.1.11, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. The noes have it.
Second.
How does that work? Motion's got to be seconded?
That needs to be seconded?
Second.
By 2/3? We need a 2/3 vote to move the article. All those in favor of moving the article, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. I'm going to go with 2/3. All right. Now we will have a vote on Article 1 as amended. Requires a simple majority. Those in favor of Article 1 as amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. Ooh, that's closer than I thought it was going to be. Let's go with the cards. Oh, could they don't know to come forward? The tellers need to come forward and make the count.
She tried to push my hand down already once.
Oh, I'm sorry. All yes votes, please signify by raising your cards. I think you should have been louder. Pardon me? We're voting on Article 1 as amended.
You've amended it. I better not close. I don't think you have to.
It's not my fault. I know one thing, I don't want this All right, now if you opposed Article 1, please raise your card.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes?
there are people sitting in the back with green cards.
They're counted. There's
Oh, good,
someone up there
okay.
counted.
I just want to make sure they were counted.
They're right there. If they're standing? Well, I think it's the police, right? If we'd ask everyone to be seated if you're going to be voting. It gets confusing if people are standing and raising hands at the same time. I just told them. Boy, you can't get out of here fast. Just be nice. It's your last. Just a majority. Article 1 passes by a vote of 200 yes, 132 no. With that, declaring one job I never, ever want to seek, I turn it back to the town moderator.
was stricken. And there was some extreme wordy thing about yielding the floor. Otherwise, that's it. The other two amendments failed.
Only 30 more to go. 10 minutes of 8.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. I don't know how to take those comments, but
As intended.
excellent. All right, so continuing on with this evening's business, we're going to move on to Article 2, and that is dedication of land for new police station. I have speakers. First of all, I'll entertain a motion on.
Mr. Moderator, at 7:52 p.m., I move the town vote to approve Article 2 as it sits on the screen.
Second. I have a motion and a second, and now I will open the article up for debate, starting with a presentation by Dave Robertson, Bill Harriman, Brian Humes, and our Police Chief, Mark Dufillet. Okay, and just to be clear, due to comments earlier, what's on the screen in this case is exactly the same as what's on the warrant. And when you do see a situation where what's on the screen is different from what's on the warrant, again, it's the motion that will pertain to that. So The motion at any given time is a proposed motion. That motion can take can take other forms as well too. I don't want to say it can take any form, but you can make small changes to the motion. So what we're doing is we're actually, in those cases where it is different, we're just saying that we're recommending that proposed motion be changed. Yep. This particular article is going to be a simple majority when it gets voted. We are going to perform a hand count on this. We will not start with a voice count. We're going to go right to the hand count. And the Board of Selectmen voted in favor of this 4-1. The Building Committee in favor 6-0. And the Finance Committee in favor 6-0.
Hi, my name is Dave Robertson. I live at 38 South Main Street. I am on the Police Station Advisory Board. The members of the Police Station Advisory Board work for you. We donate our time and our money working for you. We're 7 people from all walks of life who have a vision of Carver. Our chairman is Billy Harriman, one of the finest men I have ever had the pleasure of working with in any capacity. Along this journey, our process of investigating what is best for our town within the budget that you authorized, we have been met with some questions and concerns. These concerns have been great for us. We stop the process, we revisit those concerns. A check and balance system is always best when you're looking for the right answer. Concerns like, did you consider 2 floors? Did you look to put it on over here or over there? Did you look at this angle or that angle? Were you putting it in did you consider putting it in Sherliff Park? Did you look at Rochester Road? Did you look at Pond Street? Did you consider the Girl Scout Square? Did you consider the needs for bathrooms at the playground location? Did you consider parking? Did you consider snow removal in the parking lots? Snow has to go somewhere. Did you look at this report or that report? Did you consider any legal issues? Did you consider well locations? Did you consider walking trails for recreational use? Did you investigate what impact this will have on traffic? Did you research why this has to be in the center of town? Did you look at the surveyor's location or that surveyor's ideas? The original plan was to have it at 1112 Main Street, the old fire station, police station. Did you consider keeping it there? Did you consider the cost of the expense of that's been previously spent? Did you research other police stations? Did you consider a station like this town or that town? Did you look at the back of the EMS building? Did you consider that the EMS department needs easy access to 58? Did you consider buying Siddell's building across from the elementary school? The short answer to all of these questions is yes. That being said, because we are human and apparently subject to making mistakes, we revisited each and every concern brought to us. We solicited help from our town council on legal matters. We asked our hired architect for help on technical matters. We went to other police chiefs and been through this journey. We asked our OPM, owner's project manager, Joe Sullivan, who, by the way, is a Carver resident, for help with process issues. We stopped the process to do walks on proposed site. We stopped the process to do walks on other sites. We worked for you tirelessly in pursuit to bring you a solid, sound, factual report of a unanimous decision. From the very beginning, and after each and every concern brought to us, after we investigated each and every suggestion or concern, we still came back with a yes vote. A yes is the best location unanimously, over and over. A vision of improvement, a vision of growth, a vision of the future. John Kennedy once said, "Change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or present are certain to miss the future." Well, we can all agree we do not want to miss the future with this one-time opportunity. After we hired Brian's firm, And oh, by the way, his firm stood out so far on top of the other candidates we interviewed. He worked with the police force to assess what was needed for the present and future Carver police team. We did not give Brian boundaries. We didn't say, here's a 20-year-old document that says the police station will go here, make it fit. What we wanted to know from Brian is what we needed. Brian took all that information we offered him, what the police offered him, what his experience told him. He compiled data and came back with site proposals. At each site he offered, he weighed the pros and cons of that site. When he ever mentioned using the playground site for our new police station, it was like the air was sucked out of the room from everyone gasping. We all looked at Brian and said, is this really the best area you have? And as we always do, we started an open discussion or conversation about each proposed site. In those discussions, a few of the board members suggested the possibility of moving the playground and getting a better one, more up to date, more handicap friendly, more central playground located in the recreation area. From there, someone said, why don't we update the recreation area while we're at it? Then a vision took a hold of the room, a vision of the future, a vision of what could be, a vision of the town hall master plan. Remember, a vision without action is merely a dream. And Helen Keller said, the only thing worse than being blind is having sight with no vision. A yes vote tonight would allow everyone to get what we desperately need, a police station and a new playground. Thank you.
He's like Mr. Rogers.
Thank you.
Good evening. Can you hear me back in the cheap seats? Okay. My name is Bill Harriman. I live at 55 Home Street, West Carver. I'm the chairman of the Police Station Advisory Building Committee. Our committee voted unanimously in favor of recommending that the Board of Selectmen put this article before town meeting voters tonight. We want your yes or no to move forward. We want your yes, but obviously you have a choice. I want to take a minute before I start to introduce our team, and I would ask our members to stand if you would, please. Chief Mac Dufely. Selectman David Robertson. Our town administrator, Michael Milanowski. Resident John Deli Priscoli. Resident David Siedendorf. And myself. Thank you. Missing is Sergeant Brian Berriol from the Carver Police Department. A great young lad, but he's with his family in Florida on vacation tonight. We tried to get him back, but the town wouldn't authorize payment for an airline ticket, so he's down there. A couple of other people I need to introduce. Our owner's project manager team, Joe Sullivan. Joe, where are you? And our on-site representative from Daedalus, John Feely. Is John here tonight? Okay. Also, our architect, Brian Humes. And I'm going to step out of line a little bit and introduce Tom Lydon, who is working on Article 4, but while he's here. Thanks, Tom. The one other name I wanted to mention is Arthur Borden here tonight. Arthur Borden was kind enough to do a site survey of the Center Street property for us, pro bono. And Arthur, we never sent you a thank you card, and that's on me. I apologize. You will get one. But thank you again for your help. So to my committee, I want to thank the committee for your hours of hard work to this point under difficult conditions, and for the hours of effort that you will give going forward. Some of you don't know how much that'll be. And I want you to know that I am very proud of you all for taking the high road when dealing with those who might not have agreed with our decision. To our residents and taxpayers, we want you to know that we are very sad that this decision has created a division in our great community. However, we believe with 100% conviction that this is the correct decision for the location of a new police station for today and for our future. Our committee has made every effort to act in your best interest and in the best interest of our police department. I might say our great police department during this process. And we will continue to do so as we move forward. We are mindful that this will be your police station, built with your dollars, your tax dollars, and we will make every effort to spend those tax dollars wisely and efficiently as we have done with other projects. We requested this article be put on the town meeting warrant for you to have a vote here tonight to support what we think is a well-thought-out plan. We would be irresponsible if we presented a plan to you that we did not feel was the best one. And to be honest with you, I am not sure where we go if this article is not approved. That is not a threat, that's not an ultimatum. There are not a lot of sites we can plot this police station and have it run effectively. We will have to restart the process and determine what functions the police department will have to sacrifice on another site that will also be more costly. I believe we have this one chance to get this right. We also want our residents to know that this is a working committee. We're not just going to show up for the cake and ice cream at the grand opening. Our members will regularly attend construction meetings and visit the construction site. This is a huge commitment of time and responsibility on their part. Our committee will donate hundreds of hours of their time on your behalf, and we consider it an honor to do that. It is important that our committee be vigilant regarding the construction process and the financial implications that can occur if something is missed. And that is no reflection on our owner's project manager or our architect. We work side by side with them. I believe we have a proven track record, as 4 members of our committee have attended most of the 119 elementary school construction meetings so far, and we are still meeting every 2 weeks on that project. And over 100 fire station construction meetings in addition to the regular meetings, committee meetings. Both of these projects have come in under budget and resulted in high-quality facilities due at least in part to that oversight. To date, our police station committee has had 18 regular meetings, 2 joint meetings with the Board of Selectmen, 1 public forum, 3 interview sessions, several visits to other police stations, and one very cold site walk. And I think if you were there, you remember that day. All meeting notices and meeting agendas were posted in accordance with open meeting law requirements. And meeting minutes were posted after committee approval, also in accordance with open meeting law requirements. All meetings were held in an accessible public setting. To reiterate, we followed all open meeting law requirements and have been doing so all along. On March 28, 2018, we published a request for qualifications, an RFQ, for an owner's project manager in the Central Register and a local newspaper, as required by law. And we received 10 proposals for that position. We interviewed 3 candidates and selected Daedalus Projects Incorporated from Boston, Massachusetts. We signed a contract with them in April. This position is required by Mass General Law, Chapter 149. Joe Sullivan, our project manager, and John Feely, our on-site rep, as I have said, are both Carver residents. On May 23rd, 2018, we published a request for qualifications for an architect in the Central Register and a local newspaper, again as required by law. We reviewed 5 proposals for that position. We interviewed 3 candidates, and we selected Jakunski Humes from Berlin, Connecticut. They are a leading expert in designing public safety buildings throughout New England, and they have designed over 80 public safety facilities in this area. Sorry. We signed a contract with them in June. The first order of business for Brian, as Dave Robertson said, after we welcomed him to the team, was to interview the police chief, the internal police station committee, and other police department members in an effort to determine space and function needs of the police department, not just for today, but going forward into the future. And at every meeting, we would query Brian, when can we talk about location? We don't talk location until we have a space needs. He needed that to figure out what kind of a site this would have to go on. Our committee discussed several site locations, including the area behind the EMS building, the area north of the playground, and the existing police station, fire station site. We felt very strongly that the new police station should remain in the center of town. We ultimately believe that the area north of the current playground, not the playground, but north of the playground, on the Center Street site was the best location. We also agreed that a one-story facility was best suited for our new police station. The one location which met all necessary criteria for our police department was on the actual site. For many reasons, this was the perfect site. And as Dave Robertson also said, when that came up, there was some eyes rolling in the room, but we had to forge on and do what we thought was best. Regarding the playground site, there was never some nefarious conspiracy to purposely tear down, destroy, or dismantle the current playground prior to the architect's findings. And if you take nothing else from me tonight, please believe that. We did not sit around saying, let's just rip this stuff down so the kids don't have a place to play. That's not what grown men are supposed to do, and we didn't do that. The committee never considered the playground site until it was presented as the absolute best location as determined by the architect to address the needs of our police department. My guess is the Collins Center never considered the playground site either. We as a committee have voted unanimously for this proposed location, and we stand behind that decision. After agreeing that this was the best site, we made a conscious and sincere effort to find a location for the playground. That will be addressed tonight in Article 4. As in everything else, things change and police department responsibilities change also. Who would have thunk when we were kids about school shootings or some of the things that go on today? That's what these guys deal with. So everything is evolving and changing. Training is more important today than ever. The playground site allows for a training area in the rear wooded area while still maintaining some of the walking trails. That location also provides room for the outbuilding, a carport, adequate secure parking, and space for future expansion. We need to think of that. Other sites do not offer those benefits. This site also allows for continued use of the current police station without the added cost and inconvenience of temporary relocation. It has been said that a previous town meeting voted to approve the 112 Main Street site. But a search of town warrants that I did could not locate such a vote. That was an issue that our team had to determine only after the space and function needs assessment was completed. And in fact, I'm not a Facebook guy, but somebody posted on Facebook a video of me saying at town meeting last year that we would have to find a site. We would be looking for a site. Okay, and that's not my words. I saw that with my own two eyes. And they didn't get my good side either. Almost done. I clearly understand the passion of those who did a lot of hard work to get the playground completed 20 years ago. And that is why we are requesting the playground be rebuilt in a new location with ADA accessible equipment. But I also see the passion of our committee members who believe that the police station should go on the best possible site to serve our community and our police department. Despite the turmoil that this decision has caused, the committee stands by the decision that this is the best location for our new police station. We believe that it would be a tragedy not to site this critical facility in the best location and handcuff our police department in its ability to serve us and maximize its potential for the next 50 years. And if I wasn't going to say anything, but I reiterate, this was a tough decision. We care about the town, we live in the town, a very tough decision for our team. But we would have been less than honest with you if we brought to you something that we were not 100% convicted to. We need to have the courage of our convictions, and I am convinced that this team did as I watched them work through this. So I want to thank you for listening, and I would ask your consideration for this article. With that said, I would ask our architect, Brian Humes, to provide you with more detail on that drove our decision.
Good evening. I'm the Brian that everybody's talking about. For full disclosure, I'm Brian Humes, a partner at Jakunski Humes Architects in Berlin, Connecticut. And I've been asked to talk to you about my proposal for the Carver Police Department. And to start off, I need to emphatically state that, in my opinion, this is the most prudent and cost-effective solution to provide for the current and future needs of the Carver Police Department. And as I said, in my opinion is based on over 30 years of experience in planning and designing police facilities throughout New England. And in that time, I have been involved with the planning, design, and construction of over 80 police or public safety facilities in Connecticut and Massachusetts. So that's where my opinion comes from. And yes, there have been differing opinions on this proposed solution, but based on my recommendation, this proposal has not been coerced by any town officials, by any committee members, by anybody on the police department, but has been vetted by all of them. Since I have started, this has been thoroughly explained and vetted by your building committee. And it has been vetted on several occasions, and it's proposed unanimously tonight. It has been thoroughly examined and vetted by your police department and their subcommittee, and comes with their recommendation tonight. And on two separate occasions, I have had to present to the Board of Selectmen and explain to them the proposal, and at both times, it came with a majority approval from your Board of Selectmen. Tonight, you're being asked to vote on this proposal. It's my proposal, it's the building committee's proposal, it's the police department proposal, and it's being recommended by the Board of Selectmen. But tonight, I've been asked to speak, and I realize that I need to keep it brief, but I need to explain to all of you so you can have an informed vote on what you're being asked to vote on tonight. The solution that I have proposed has been vetted through and derived through a process. And the process for me started last July of 2018. and that was by determining the needs of your Carver Police Department. We had completed that needs assessment last August through October, and when I look at this proposal, I'm not just providing a building. But if you're looking at the needs of your facility, the needs of your police department, yes, it's a 12,000 square foot, one-story building. It's a 2,500 square foot storage outbuilding. It's public parking for at least 30 cars. It's fleet vehicle parking and staff parking for 42 vehicles. It's a potential for a solar carport for police department fleet vehicles for 10 vehicles. It's a vehicle impound lot. It's a fully illuminated parking areas so they can have proper surveillance of their parking areas and exterior of the building at all times. It's dumpster location. It's an emergency generator sitting on a pad with a day tank. It's a fire pump and a 40,000 gallon on-site underground fire storage tank that not only provides fire water for the police department, but providing a municipal fire service for any downtown need for the fire department for municipal use to obtain 40,000 gallons of water if needed in your downtown district. It's an underground holding tank and grease oil separator for gray water to prevent contamination into your soil. It's a temporary trailer location for firearms training that the police department conduct in their parking lot behind the facility. Those are the needs that have to be accommodated. In addition to those needs, we have to make it functional. We have to make it efficient. We have to make it energy efficient. We have to make it attractive, and we have to make it visible. The proposal that you're voting on tonight does all of that and provides for all of those needs. And we have achieved, we being the architectural firm, the building committee, they've achieved those goals in what you're voting on. I have reviewed all the other proposed solutions, whether they date back for years or date back just months. And in my opinion, they have not met all of those requirements that I have been able to achieve in what you're voting on. Plus, it's providing visibility. Let me talk about visibility. When you're talking about a police facility, visibility is key. Visibility is good for your community. This facility is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and the lights will be on. Anybody driving through town will see your police department. It's good for your community. It's also good for businesses. When the lights are on and the police department is visible, it's providing a security blanket for businesses downtown. If anybody's thinking or considering vandalism, crime in your downtown area, they want to see that the police department is visible and providing security to your downtown area. So it's good for businesses. It's good for travelers. This police department is not just for your community, it's for travelers through town. It's for people looking for information. It's for people that might even be looking for restroom facilities in the middle of the night. The police department will be providing that for the community and people traveling through your community. And it's good for emergencies. Not just responding from the facility, but it's good for, as I mentioned, fire water access for your fire department. Emergencies for people who are needing to find the police department under an emergency condition. We've heard episodes where people drive into the fire department for medical emergencies and your fire department is closed. No one's there. The police department will be fully staffed at all hours, throughout the night, 365 days a year. They can respond to those emergencies for anybody seeking assistance. So visibility, yes, visibility is important. This site provides the visibility for your downtown and provides an attractive solution. The playground and recreation, I feel, are improved, and you will talk about that further under Article 4. But we've also looked at this site to make other municipal improvements, and one of them is your library circulation. The site that we have is this is the existing conditions on this site. The site that's being proposed is the current playground area that's highlighted. But if you look at your current library circulation, your library entrance is off Meadowbrook. And when you come off Meadowbrook, you're faced with angled parking. Meadowbrook entrance, angled parking. When you have angled parking, what the traffic circulation is trying to do there is have you park in an angled configuration. So when you back out, you continue driving in the same direction you came in. Meadowbrook entrance is only designed to be an entrance to your library. I have witnessed how that is not the case. That Meadowbrook, while it's designed for entrance only, is being used for entrance and exit. The people who are parking in the angled parking configuration are trying to back out in an angled configuration and still exit onto Meadowbrook. The way this was originally designed was you were supposed to be backing out and continuing down and exiting onto Center Street. And when you get down to Center Street, it's a one-way do not enter at that Center Street. No one has the ability to enter the library off of Center Street. In this proposal, if you could switch to the proposed solution, we're now proposing that Meadow Street entrance be the two-way entrance and exit from the library. The parking be reconfigured to 90-degree parking and expanded for library use. And as you continue through the site, we now have two-way entrance and exit at the Center Street intersection. The existing parking at the library, to the rear of the library, that would remain and be supplemented by public parking for the police department. The parking that's the larger lot could be used for overflow parking for both functions. Overflow, it's utilized by the library. It gives you the benefit to now be utilized by the police department, and we don't need to expand more parking onto this site. We have adequate parking for both facilities. So it's more than just this police department proposal. I've explained how the library would be a benefit. We've also proposed Main Street, Center Street intersection improvements. The way Center Street exits onto Main Street, you have a wide curb cut area, you have an island in the middle. We're proposing that intersection be improved and to improve the traffic design at that intersection also. You now have off of Main Street onto Center Street the ability to enter into the library, enter into the police department, either continue through the site and exit onto Meadowbrook, or if you want to access both of these facilities off of Meadowbrook, you have two-way traffic and improved traffic circulation through the site. If you see the area of the site that we're utilizing for the police department, we've aligned curb cuts, we've improved visibility, and we've truly made this a municipal complex that I feel you're going to be proud of. We have taken all of the needs that I stated earlier and accommodated them on this site, and accommodated them in a way that I feel has met the functional, efficient, energy efficient, attractive, and visible solution that we're all striving for your Carver Police Department. Thank you.